to our White Towel panel video where we discuss all things Canuck. I will remind you can also subscribe to our podcast, The White Towel, which will give you these guys' expertise all year long on everything Canuck. Subscribe to that through Apple Podcasts, and you will never be left out of what's going on with this amazing team, gents. This is where I want to start. We've seen hot starts from the Canucks before. You know, we're coming off a game where they went toe-to-toe with the Stanley Cup champs. Yeah, they lost in overtime, but they got a point. They're third in the West. This is beyond a hot start or a weak schedule. What is the difference in this team? Because to me, it seems like they haven't just taken one step this year, they've taken 5.
Defense.
Well, you can start there. I'll let you start with defense and I'll chime in after that.
Literally look at the opening night roster last year. You had Goodbranson, you had Pouliot, you had Delzato, right? That's 3. I mean, that's an addition by subtraction. Yeah. And then you added Myers, who's played far above any expectations we had. Quinn Hughes has been outstanding. And Jordy Ben. We don't really talk a lot about Jordy Ben, but Jordy Ben's been an important part of this.
I think it's a great thing that you don't talk about Jordy Ben, because we're not talking about an overpaid veteran who's an anchor on the salary cap and not producing on the ice.
And at the end of the day, they're doing a great job of defending in the neutral zone, not having to be in their own end. They're on the counterattack all the time, and we're seeing how well it's working.
Yeah, what PJ is talking about too there as well, Paul, the fact that we talk about their scoring and the power play potential, the fact that they're giving up the 4th fewest goals in the league as well. I think a lot of it has to do with depth. I mean, I talked to Bo Horvat the other day about, the Canucks always want to have a November to remember, and invariably they get a big injury. Last year was Besser going down at the start of the month. They had that horrific November. There's a feeling in the room, a lot of it has to do with depth. When you bring in seasoned players like JT Miller, who has a playoff pedigree, who has been everything they had hoped for in a player, to have those guys in your top 6 mix. So when somebody goes down, whether it's injuries or indifferent play, you got Sven Barchi sitting there pining to get into the lineup, but he can't. And now he's wondering about his future here, and maybe somewhere down the road they move him because they're going to have Roussel coming back before Christmas, and they're going to have an embarrassment of riches. I just think there's 2 things at play. There's health, there's depth, there's real players. When they recall somebody from Utica, that guy can play. But more importantly, there seems to be a sense in the room that when they get down, like they did in St. Louis, got down 3-1, found a way to battle back, won it in a shootout, there's a feeling in the room that they don't sit back on their heels anymore when they get down. They take it to the other team, and a lot of their scoring comes off the way they play, and it's heavy on the forecheck. They're not the Harlem Globetrotters. They're just really hard to play against, and having that kind of a tough mentality translates into a lot of goals.
It's funny you use the word heavy rather. It's this new hockey cliche. Rather than say a team is physical or they have grit, it's like they're a heavy team. But I saw a lot of that against the Blues, that people are talking about this Canucks team. Yes, they've got this young top-end offensive talent. You talked about the defense, Patrick. But this team can't be pushed around, it looks like, either. This is another transformation. This story this time last year, we were all talking about the liberties being taken with Elias Pettersson. This team seems to be able to go toe-to-toe with any style team, so right now at least.
Well, I think it's also that Pettersson has sort of understood how people come at him and how fast things happen at this level, and he's adapted, and he's bigger and stronger, but he's also adapted. He's just finding ways to get away from people and find more space. Yes, he's still getting checked hard, but I think it's a little bit. I mean, JT Miller is almost better than they'd expected.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody is playing so well and at such a high level. It's just they're all better. I mean, they can do these things in a way that they just couldn't do last year because they weren't good enough last year.
Pettersson hits people now, by the way. He hits people. But the one thing I noticed in the game against St. Louis is the fact that what Paul talked about, the heavy team, is the fact that early in the game, Jay Beagle, who won a Stanley Cup with the Washington Capitals, who understand what playoff hockey's all about, just runs down into the end boards and basically a WWE move, and he slams him to the ice. And early in the game, the Canucks set the physical tone. They had 28 hits. It was, as Travis said after, it was a big boy game.
Yeah.
Are you going to man up? They're coming in. They're on a 4-game win streak. They'd won 6 of 7. They looked like the team that went all the way last year, and they went toe-to-toe with them. So you put a big check in the right box there, being able to play with the league's best.
Thanks, gents. Keep coming back to theprovince.com, vancouversun.com for all our Canuck coverage, videos, podcasts, stories, you name it, we got it.